darkness fell across the country of 1,000 hills. Rwanda, my beloved country. During 100 bloody days, more than 1 million people were killed by extremist Hutu. The genocide against the Tutsi was planned, organized by the government at the time. And they used the armed forces, the militia known as Interahamwe, the politicians, but also the ordinary citizens. Entire families were decimated across the hills, valleys, mountains, even inside churches. People were killed for the only reason that they were either Tutsi or moderate Hutu. Neighbors killed their neighbors. Even some relatives killed their own relatives in that genocide against the Tutsi. Florida is one of those from the ordinary citizens that participated in the killings. She was at the time a young woman, but she took weapons and killed her neighbors. The victims were killed indiscriminately. The elderly, women, children, even persons with disabilities, they were killed. Florida was arrested, as many other people were accused or suspected of genocide crimes. And she was brought before the Gacaca courts. The Gacaca courts were transitional justice courts that were put in place in 2000 to hear trials of genocide crimes cases. She never accepted that she participated in the killings, despite the overwhelming testimonies from the witnesses that she indeed participated in the killings. Before the overwhelming testimonies, she was convicted and she was sentenced to many years in prison. But she never accepted the sentence. And she never told her own family members that she indeed participated in the killings. For the survivors of the genocide, justice has been served. But for the family members of Florida, they thought justice has not been served. You can imagine the climate between the survivors of the genocide and the family members of Florida. It was the climate of mistrust and suspicion between the two groups. 20 years down the road, Florida never confessed. She never told her family members that she had been put in prison for the crimes she committed. It's only 20 years after when a new program was started in partnership with Prison Fellowship Rwanda, the government, and UNDP to support social healing initiatives in prisons. Florida was among those who benefited from social healing support. After a few sessions, she was able to open up, to confess, and to tell the truth of really what happened. She was willing to ask for forgiveness to the victims, to the families of the victims. In a session that had been organized at the community level for the survivors of the genocide, for the families of the inmates convicted of genocide crimes, they all underwent social healing support. And in a joint event that had been organized, bringing together the survivors of the genocide, the families of the inmates, and the inmates themselves, there was a public confession where Florida publicly accepted to ask for forgiveness, to repent, to tell the truth of what happened, to ask for forgiveness to the survivors of the genocide, but also to the members of our family who ignored really what happened for the last 20 years. In that special event, it was an amazing session where people started hugging each other. Florida hugging the survivors of the genocide. The genocide survivors hugging the family members of Florida, and vice versa. It's a very touching moment. It was really a testimony of how social healing can support in the healing the wounds, not only of survivors of the genocide, but also of the inmates themselves, those who perpetrated the genocide. But most interestingly, bringing social cohesion and social trust between the members of the families of the inmates and the survivors of the genocide. The story of Florida is not unique in Rwanda. There are many more inmates convicted of genocide crimes that haven't yet underwent the social healing support. They still need really to be approached, to be supported. But they still keep their secrets. Their families still ignore what was really their involvement in the genocide against the Tutsi. And social healing can really heal, can ignite the trust and social cohesion among the communities. But also, social healing can also help the inmates to prepare for their future release. The information from the Ministry of National Unity and Civic Engagement has hinted that in the next 5 years, every year, each year, around 1,000 inmates will be released. And those were inmates that were convicted of genocide crimes. They have to be prepared before they join the communities, because they still have that the fear to go back to where they committed atrocities. But also in the communities, they still see them as those people who committed atrocities. So preparing them from where they are in the prisons, but also preparing the communities to reintegrate them is really a must. I used to call each and everyone to really invest more in social healing initiatives, because our future as a country also rely on social cohesion for the Rwandans. I call upon those who are still in the prison, who haven't yet accepted to tell the truth, to open up and follow the lead that Florida has shown. Because social healing can really bring peace, harmony, trust, and also sustainable development. I thank you very much for your kind attention.